What's up, tech fam? Welcome to Telvatech. Here we'll break down the tech you need to level up in your career and in gadgets. I am Valentine from Telvatech, your full stack dev guide. Today we are diving into HDD versus SSD, the ultimate showdown impacting your PC and desktop speed. Stick around for simple facts. I'm very certain you will love this one. As a tech guru, tech enthusiast who is aspiring to go into tech or who is already into tech, but you're still finding it difficult to differentiate or to know the difference or to spot the difference between SSD and HDD. Today, we are going to break it down for you, make it make sense to you so that you understand what it means to have an SSD system and HDD system. And not just that, this particular video will save you a lot of cash and frustrations when buying your next PC. Stick around. So the first thing you have to understand is, but before then, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Now the first thing you have to understand is, what are HDD and SSD? HDD stands for hard disk drive. Yes, HDD stands for hard disk drive. Think of that old school champ using spinning magnetic platters to store data. When you talk about HDD, the letters there, HDD, hard disk drive. It's more like an old school champ using spinning magnetic platters to store data, like a tiny record player inside your PC. On the other hand, SSD means solid state drive. That is, S stands for solid, the second S stands for state, then the last D there equally stands for drive. The SSD, that one is the modern beast. Yes, we call it the modern beast with flash memory chips. It comes with a flash memory chips. When you talk about flash, what comes to your mind as a layman? Speed, right? Yes. So SSD is that modern beast that comes with flash memory chips, no moving parts, just lightning fast electrons. On desktop, you can say that HDD packs massive storage chip. Yes, it packs massive storage chips, like 2 terabytes. You can get it as cheap as between, in Naira, you can say, okay, you can get it between 1 terabyte to 2 terabyte of HDD. Within, it's not even up to 100,000 or 150,000 if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's not up to between 100k. It's not up to even up to 100k. Yes, it's not up to 100k in Naira. That is for HDD. Now, talking about, but they are slower. That's just one thing about HDD. They are slower. They make a lot of noise. Yes, we'll come to that, but just understand that HDDs are cheap in price, but they are slower in operation and they are noisier. But talking about SSDs cost more per gig. 1 gig, 2 gig, 3 gig. So SSDs cost more per gig and boot Windows in seconds. That's just one thing. I don't know if you have had such experience whereby you boot your laptop, you are booting your laptop and you have to go to the fridge, get a water and drink. Your laptop is still booting or your desktop computer is still booting. So this is what HDDs comes like. It is slower in operation. It makes your system lags, both your files, but it's a different case for your SSD. So your SSD costs more per gig, but boot Windows in seconds and make apps fly. What is system without softwares? What is system without applications? So with SSD, you are very certain that you have a fast running applications and fast running softwares. Not just that, it's more like your PC brain, the storage type that decides if it's a snail or rocket. When you talk about your PC brain, that is the CPU. Now, that is where storage comes in. Storage is that complementary device that decides if your PC brain will perform like a snail, slow, or like a rocket, fast. So this is what When you hear SSD, these are the things that will come to your mind. Remember, we said that it's more like a modern beast that comes with a flash memory, where I said that when you talk about flash, what will come to your mind is what? Speed. Flashlight, flash. What will come to your mind is speed. So having your PC brain, your storage type, which is either HDD or SSD, these are the storage type is what will determine if your PC brain will be operating like a snail or a rocket. That is another part of it. Now, what about the impact? What about the impact? What about the key differences? For speed test, we can equally say that HDD read or write at 100 to 200 MBs per second. Now, sometimes if you want to buy a flash drive, or maybe even your internet, you see that this one is reading at 50 MB per second. The higher it reads per second, the higher the speed. So for HDDs, you can get a maximum speed of 100 to 200 MBs per second. The practical example of this is if you are copying a file from one system to another, or from one flash drive to another, or you're transferring a file from your flash or from another drive into your PC, the amount of speed you experience is dependent on the storage type that is inside your PC. That is the practical example of this. And another thing, to load applications, to load softwares. So when you talk about HDD, you are expecting to get 100 to 200 speed to 200 MBs per second. Fine for movies, all right. But for your desktop, it lasts on games. You get a slower performance when you are playing a game, when you are using engineering softwares. Devs like us, we can't use it for programs whereby you're using Java, Python, Oracle to code your applications. So SSDs are the perfect if you want to get a fast operation. So you are getting 100 to 200 MBs. But for, like I said, but for desktop, it lasts on games, or even your Photoshop as a designer. Yes, I'm also a designer. So if you want to experience that swift operation when working on design projects using high-end softwares like Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, your go-to that I must recommend for you if you want to get an excellent operation with time precision, then I will advise you go for SSD PCs. Now, when you talk about SSD, you are getting up to 7,000 MB per second. You see the difference. The difference is the margin is quiet. Is actually so evident. You are getting 7,000 MBs per second, especially on NVMe's SSD. That one will be on another video. We'll explain the different types of SSDs. So that is and it now, from looking at this, both from booting to loading of your applications to booting of your software, you see that it's slashing booting time from 45 seconds to 10. Instead of waiting for a minute or for 30 seconds or for 45 seconds to boot your system, you are getting it done under 10 seconds. You are getting your results done under 10 seconds. So that is the speed and impact between HDD and SSD. The other one is 100 to 200 MBs per second, while the latter is 7,000 MBs per second. Now, what about durability? Durability is also an important factor here, because one thing about storage is that you have the one that you insert in your PC, then you have the one that comes as external storage. Both comes in both models. For HDD, we have the one that we can use on the PC, then we have the one that we can use as an external storage. Now, what about the durability test? I have been opportune enough within my years of experience in the tech field to put a test on these both models, and I can boldly and confidently tell you that SSDs pass the test. SSDs pass the test, no doubt, no doubt on it. HDD crash once your hard drive drops on the floor, once it drops on the floor from a let me say 1 meter or 2 meter, or even just no matter how it is, once it drops on the floor, like once it falls on the floor, just expect nothing but crash. The 90%, the success rate of it not crashing is just 10%. 90%, that means that it will crash. So for durability, HDD crash from drops or vibration. In Nigeria, in a country like Nigeria here, where we have roads, bumpy roads and all that, and your daily hustle, you can even carrying off your HDD inside your bag going up and down, it can crash. It can, if your bag mistakenly hits somewhere, and probably unfortunately the position where the HDD is situated or located, it can crash it. So HDD crash from drops and vibration because it's more like a magnetic platter. So that the fragility is there. That is one thing about it. So it's bad for laptops and risky on desktops too. What about SSDs? This one is the light master. Remember, it is light. It's so light in weight. It's more like a ship. So this one shrug off. Instead of crashing, it's absorbed. It shrug off shocks. Perfect for Nigerians' bumpy roads. And not just that, all the other part of the world. You understand? In harsh conditions, SSD always delivers. So it is perfect for your daily hustles. What about power and heat? This one is all about the battery performance, because the battery performance of your device also have its own take or have its own cut from the kind of storage you are using. So talking about SSD sips battery. It sips battery, great for laptops, and runs silently cool. Remember I said earlier that HDD are noisier. So with that noisy operation drains your battery. But for your SSD, it's silent and it's cool, making it to be a battery conserver for your PC. So when you talk about SSD is great for laptops, and it runs silently cool. While HDD, that one goes through more juice and spine up heat, because the more noise, the more heat, and where there is the more heat, the more battery drain. So shortening the desktop lifespan over years. So when you talk about PC and desktop performance, using HDD, which I've already explained. Picture gaming PC. For those of you who understand if you are hearing gaming PC for the first time, fine. We'll always talk about that in our next videos. But meanwhile, on this, we are talking about the performance of these drives on PC and laptop and on laptops and desktops. So when you talk about HDD, you talk about gaming PC. When you talk about SSD, you talk about gaming PC. With SSD, you are getting a premium performance. Even if it's not a gaming PC, you are editing your video, you are shooting, you're editing your videos, you are editing in Adobe Premiere Pro, you are doing your dev work, like we, that is developers, you are creating your application, you are doing coding, you are into software management, you are even into engineering like AutoCAD. SSD will give you a premium fast performance. When you talk about performance, your go-to drive should be SSD, nothing less, nothing more. Now, so that is just it. When you talk about compiling code, like we dev, we go for SSD, nothing more, nothing less. So what is all about it is this, that performance-wise, I will advise you go for SSD. But if you are just looking for storage, static storage, HDD will be your go-to. Because one thing about HDD is they are cheaper. You can get 1 terabyte at a cheaper rate. But in SSD, it's the opposite. You can get a smaller storage space for a higher cost. So if you want something that you can use to save your files and it remains static, not like you are carrying it around, using it in diverse occasions, then fine, you can store in your HDD.